Antlers, assumptions, and artillery. They were in the club for 4 hours. The same table of girls kept sending roofied drinks right at them, with brandy occasionally showing up near them. That was weird, and it had a lot of Bjorn's attention. Clearly a conspiracy was going on, and she was all over the place. She was a whirl of energy and clearly was out to have fun. With him out of the way and to the side, there's less conflict and he can keep track of things, such as the fact that even though several different waitresses have confronted the group, they haven't been thrown out, and the waitresses seem to be more on their side than on the side of the guy they're trying to drug. And if that doesn't raise alarm bells, then few things ever will. Definitely something to keep an eye on, but not the only thing. Much of the crowd is armed. Unlike normal situations where people hide their guns along their sides, these girls are packing around the front and back. Generally, most girls in skirts are ready to reach under and grab a gun. Those with pants usually wear them so tight they may as well be painted on, but the skirt wearers go for breezy ones that sway. He can also spot the hard outlines of guns every now and again. He has guided Holly to stay away from those groups more than once, and thankfully she's currently in the pants party and nowhere near the girls with guns. Still, it looks like Holly has worn herself down fairly thoroughly and all but staggers to the table, panting and exhausted. He orders a cold drink and she outright inhales it, ice cubes and all. And that is why humans sweat, he notes to himself. What? The smell? The sweating? It's a cooling method. Think of it like personal air conditioning on a system made to run hot. Oh, you humans run hot all right, Holly mutters as she orders a glass of crushed ice. It goes down the hatch as well, and they pay their tab. I'm about ready to blow this joint. You want to do something? Well, since we're out, I've heard about a movie, Treen I think it's called. A massive 3-act movie with intermissions. That could easily eat up the rest of the day, and a theater is plenty defensible if we're near the back. Always so businesslike, Holly teases. I'm literally on the job right here and now, Bjorn notes. Fine. Do you have any plans, a specific movie in mind? The Tale of Varg Terra. Apparently it's got a lot of action and intrigue, so I'll be entertained, and the main actor is apparently this year's hottest man on Centrist, so you'll have something to drool over. Bjorn states as he also considers that anyone that wants to show up and start shit will either buy a ticket so he can track down their details later or will make noise on the approach. Either way, he has an easier job, unless he gets the real easy job and no trouble arrives. Oh, that sounds awesome, but a train takes a long time. We won't be out until early tomorrow morning. Then we crash and sleep until noon unless we've got an appointment you haven't told me about, Bjorn asks, and she shakes her head. Neither do I, so let's go catch that movie, maybe a meal or two, and then fall down on our beds. He neglects to tell her that he intends to write out a report and sending it before crashing. The only reason Holly has lasted this long was the sheer conditioning and frequent breaks. Or we could do that tomorrow instead, Holly asks, and he offers her a confused look. That was a shift in behavior. Well, never mind. Let's just go home and then we can hit the movie some other time. That was a change of pace. What brought it about? Bjorn decides not to pry as it's a welcome relief either way. If the girl knows how to calm down on her own, then it's less babysitting and more actual bodyguarding. Besides, it's best they leave. The roofie table will never not make him want to take a pot shot. Sounds good. Let's just see if I need to hurt the bouncer for losing my weapon and we'll be off, Bjorn says, dropping a few coins on the table as a hefty tip. Always pays to have the servers like you, and standing up. As if on goddamn cue, the roofie table stands up as well. We got trouble. What? Them? They look pretty weak, Holly remarks. They've been trying to drug me for the past 4 hours. They've got resources and friends in that they haven't been forced out the door by the bouncers yet. Not to mention a lot of them are packing skirts, as you can see. meaning that they could be hiding hardware under there. So they may be armed. Just be ready to duck and let me stay between them and you. I'll take care of the rest, Bjorn assures her. I'll get you home safe. Luckily for the bouncer, she did not lose Bjorn's shotgun, and he thanks her for it back before openly reloading the weapon in front of her. He then tucks away the weapon and bids the now somewhat intimidated woman a good night. Oh boy, stay in front of me, Holly. We're being followed. Oh, but as your laser-proof and heavily armed bodyguard, I must insist you keep yourself in a position where they have to go through me to get to you, Bjorn says. Fine, you can look at my ass instead of letting me ogle yours. Lady, I'm in pants so baggy they could do double duty as parachutes. You're not seeing anything, Bjorn remarks with a snort as long strides carry Holly in front of him. He keeps watch of the small gang following through reflections and occasionally looking around to not give away the game. Holly, you're going to duck into an alleyway and stick to the shadows. I'm going to stand at the entrance and confront them if they approach. Understand? Why don't you just call them out? Holly asks, not unreasonably. This could still be a huge coincidence. Bjorn responds and Holly outright scoffs. Really? What are the odds of that? Slim to none, but not none. Put some hustle in, Bjorn says, and there's a clattering of hooves as she makes a dash. He enters the alleyway and stops before planting his feet and pulling out his shotgun. There's a large trash receptacle that Holly ducks behind to his silent approval. Good to see she's taking this seriously. The entire gang just rushes up to him and then skid to a stop. The Lope and Brandy, her Nagasha and Feely friend, two snicked a Tret, and another Lopen make up the girls from the roofie table, as they all stare at him and his weapon. Bjorn says nothing as he glares them down. Look, I don't know who's paid you what, or what's going on, but one of the snicked begins. Don't be stupid, Autumn. Can't you smell it? He's in season. His blood is boiling and he's convinced he can take us all on in a fight. With that laser trick he might, the Feely said, and Bjorn says nothing as he considers things. Look, I get it. You're not scared of anyone and you shouldn't be, but you're in serious danger. The Tret woman says then backs off as the shotgun turns her way. I don't know what you've been told, but that girl is dangerous. I don't know what name has been given to you, but she's called Knife Top and she's murdered hundreds. Knife Top was a brainwashed personality forced onto my client. Think of her more like an evil spirit that has been forced out and destroyed, and you have the general idea on a level where I won't be dragged before my commanding officer for a court-martial for divulging information. Bjorn returns and there's a pause. What? The Tret demands, and Bjorn sighs. I am Sergeant Veers, assigned to my client to protect her. The entity known as Knife Top was a false personality forced into the poor girl. It did terrible things with an innocent girl as an unaware meat puppet. We've extracted the entity and utterly destroyed it. Knife Top is gone, but the child used to create her needs protection, hence why I'm here. What? The Tret demands. Are you kidding me? This isn't some insane Apuk epic or feel-good story. Debatable, Bjorn says, mostly just to stop her from going too far into a rant. This is dangerous. That monster you're protecting has killed hundreds, gored them on her antlers. Carib never carve their antlers unless they're flat-out deranged, and on the whole planet only one Carib has sharpened antlers. The Tret protests, pointing down the alleyway and right to the bin that Holly's hiding behind. You see? This is why we recommended you pare down the antlers, Bjorn calls back. Is this the time? Holly demands in a shocked tone. Well, it's not like I'm going to let them touch you, Bjorn remarks as he cracks his neck. You think you can protect her? The Tret demands, and Bjorn's face darkens. Knife Top was just a raging berserker. I'm the trained killer, he growls out. Stop, Holly calls out, and Bjorn goes still before turning just enough to see her emerge from her cover from the corner of his eye. Get back in there, he barks at her. No. Now. He bellows and everyone flinches at the sheer volume. No, no, what happened? What I was made to do was horrible. It wasn't you. It was that thing they rammed into the back of your head. Bjorn snaps. Get back into cover. No, what happened wasn't right. Something needs to be done. Get back in that fucking cover for fuck's sake. Bjorn hollers at her. No, this needs to be made right. Getting yourself killed to make up for something that you didn't do is insane. But I did. I remember. Holly screams. Bjorn looks back to see her crouching down with her hands to the side of her head and shaking. I remember. I remember all of it, and I don't want to. I hate it, and I don't want it, and now it won't ever go away. Bjorn bites back the fact that if she allowed her antlers to be trimmed and rounded away, she wouldn't have been recognized. It won't help. The gang on the opposite side is completely confused as to what's going on, and it gives Bjorn a moment to quickly activate the emergency button on his communicator. His hand then blurs back to the weapon to hold them all at bay. Bodyguard work is one thing. Bodyguarding someone in the middle of a mental breakdown due to issues they refuse to talk to their therapist about is certainly another. What is going on here? The Tret demands. Knifetop is dead. The body that was hijacked for her use is free now and highly traumatized by the living nightmare that was Knifetop. I am her bodyguard. Understand? Bjorn says slowly and clearly. How is that even possible? Brandy demands. The details are classified because no one wants a repeat of the fucking nightmare that was Knifetop. Now back off. Bjorn hisses, then glances up and grins as an air truck descends and several men jump out onto balconies and point their guns down. Good timing. The vehicle lands with a thump behind the gang and the side opens. Guns first, several men pour out and take up firing positions. Sergeant Veers, status report, one of the men demands. These women are here to take vengeance on Knifetop. They have rejected my explanations of the situation multiple times, and my VIP decided to try and have a moralistic point and then suffered a mental break. They attempted an attack in the dance club and were warded off, followed by numerous attempts to drug me, Bjorn says, and the men harden. Ladies, you're all in a great deal of trouble. The commanding officer on the field notes calmly. We were trying to stop a mass murdering madwomen with a minimum of fuss. How is that wrong? Brandy demands, and there's a pause. You're going to have to come with us. We will test to see if you're telling the truth. If you are telling the truth and prove trustworthy, we will tell you what's going on. The officer says, and there's a pause. Sergeant Veers, get the VIP to safety. We've got this. Bjorn nods and dashes to Holly, who's still in her little ball of misery. She just shakes her head when he tries to get her up, so he holsters the shotgun, picks her up and runs. He doesn't stop until he gets back into the safe house and locks the door. Well, that was a workout, he says to the still sniffling ball of angst and self-pity on the couch. So I'm a fat monster, she mutters, and he rolls his eyes as he keys a number on his communicator. Hello, Mrs. Clatterhooves? It's your daughter. She's having a really bad time and could use you. I suggest bringing some comfort food. I'll pay you back, so go all in with it. I'll be renting a movie for both of you to watch because she really needs her mom, Bjorn says, and she asks a flurry of questions, but Mrs. Clatterhooves answers all of them herself and then hangs up. He stares at the communicator for a moment while contemplating how to ask the next question. He decides to simply get it over with. Holly, you should have told me that you remember Knifetop. I only kind of remember, she says, sniffling. How do you remember? Or better yet, when did you start remembering? At night, I dream of her. It's too real. You can't smell in dreams. You can't really feel it in a dream. But when it's about her, when it's her, I can. Holly mutters from the couch. Ah, nightmares. Yes, Things are starting to make a lot of horrible sense. The movie idea becomes a much better one. If it's still playing while she's asleep, it might hijack the dreams and steer them away from knife-top snuff films. I'm a prisoner in my own head. I'm just a slave, and I thought if I could feel like the queen of the world, then maybe things would be better. Then maybe, Holly mutters, and a lot of her behavior clicks. Right. Well, your mom's coming, and I'm going to order a movie on pay-per-view. Any requests? Bjorn asks gently. Is it possible to get that movie you were recommending? The one with the sorcerer and stuff? You're going to have to come with us. We will test to see if you're telling the truth. If you are telling the truth and prove trustworthy, we will tell you what's going on. The officer says, and there's a pause. Sergeant Veers, get the VIP to safety. We've got this. Bjorn nods and dashes to Holly, who's still in her little ball of misery. She just shakes her head when he tries to get her up, so he holsters the shotgun, picks her up and runs. He doesn't stop until he gets back into the safe house and locks the door. Well, that was a workout, he says to the still sniffling ball of angst and self-pity on the couch. So I'm a fat monster, she mutters, and he rolls his eyes as he keys a number on his communicator. Hello, Mrs. Clatterhooves? It's your daughter. She's having a really bad time and could use you. I suggest bringing some comfort food. I'll pay you back, so go all in with it. I'll be renting a movie for both of you to watch because she really needs her mom, Bjorn says, and she asks a flurry of questions, but Mrs. Clatterhooves answers all of them herself and then hangs up. He stares at the communicator for a moment while contemplating how to ask the next question. He decides to simply get it over with. Holly, you should have told me that you remember Knife Top. I only kind of remember, she says, sniffling. How do you remember? Or better yet, when did you start remembering? At night, I dream of her. It's too real. You can't smell in dreams. You can't really feel it in a dream. But when it's about her, when it's her, I can. Holly mutters from the couch. Ah, nightmares. Yes, things are starting to make a lot of horrible sense. The movie idea becomes a much better one. If it's still playing while she's asleep, it might hijack the dreams and steer them away from knife-top snuff films. I'm a prisoner in my own head. I'm just a slave, and I thought if I could feel like the queen of the world, then maybe things would be better. Then maybe, Holly mutters, and a lot of her behavior clicks. Right. Well, your mom's coming, and I'm going to order a movie on pay-per-view. Any requests? Bjorn asks gently. Is it possible to get that movie you were recommending? The one with the sorcerer and stuff? Let's find out. Bjorn offers and starts messing around with the settings. The answer is yes, and he primes it all to start playing after Mama Clatterhooves arrives. He fetches Holly a blanket to drape around herself and starts writing out a report to scan and send to the Dauntless when there's a knocking on the door. Sure enough, Mother Clatterhooves races in, hands off a massively overstuffed bag full of junk food to him and sets down another to the side. He shuts everything properly and carries it all to set them down beside the two. Just press play. Oh, hold on a moment, Mommy forgot something next to the door, Mother Clatterhooves says and stands up. Reading her intent, Bjorn is already there, and the Carib woman grabs him by the shoulders and hisses lowly at him. What happened? Bjorn leans in and whispers quietly. She's been remembering Knife Top through her dreams. She went out to try and deal with things by feeling in control and was recognized thanks to the sharpened antlers. We need to at least file down that rack of spears, or this is going to keep happening. You do not file down a Carib's antlers, she hisses in a tone both scandalized and affronted. We have to do something. We could dye her every color of the rainbow, shave her bald and call her Nancy, and she would still be recognized with those things. Bjorn hisses back. You're right. Damn it. You're right. I'll try to talk her around. Later, right now, we need her off of potentially contemplating suicide, Bjorn says, and her eyes go wide. What? You do not reveal yourself in a dangerous standoff with people out to kill you if you don't have some kind of death wish. I see. Just get in there and help her. I'm right behind you filling out a report, and if you need anything, I'm willing to go running, he says, and she nods before rushing back to her daughter. Bjorn sighs to himself. Well, he was expecting a mess, just not this one.